KSL News at noon starts now.
Good afternoon, everyone. Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley is here in Utah today, hoping to pick up some support right now. We know she's meeting with supporters at UVU.
Well, news specialist Lindsay Ertz is there for us live. And Lindsay, take us through this visit.
Yeah, Shara and Dan, well, you can see here, I'm at UVU right now, the Herbert Institute of Politics bringing Nikki Haley to the Beehive State today. Of course, this is all ahead of the Republicans caucus night next Tuesday on Super Tuesday, where they will do a presidential preference poll. So Nikki Haley set to take the stage here about 12:30. You can see on the stage behind me that a bunch of supporters have gathered up on that stage. I'm told they're volunteers who will sit behind her as she speaks. She's not expected to answer any questions, but she will give prepared remarks. And a lot of people here today are supporters, but there are some Trump supporters here as well, just trying to get a sense of which candidate they should vote for. Now, earlier today, Nikki Haley met with KSL, and she talked about her path to the nomination. Many pundits are saying she doesn't have a chance with those early losses she suffered from Iowa to her home state of South Carolina. But Haley touted her successes, even as recently as yesterday in Michigan, saying her 30% support there is good considering she only campaigned for 2 days. Plus, she says those are votes that Donald Trump would need to pick up to win, and she doesn't believe that will happen. Now, again, next Tuesday, Super Tuesday, a key day for her where she has a chance to swing momentum in this race. And Haley wouldn't say what happens after Super Tuesday, but she says she is only thinking about the state she's in. But staying in the race, she says, is about the future of the Republican Party.
This is about which way do we want the Republican Party to go. I will tell you, if you look at the electability, if you look at the fiscal cliff, if you look at the decisions that are political about one man, if you look at what's happening to our national security, and you see that direction, that's a ship with a hole in it. We can either see the hole for what it is and take the life raft, or we'll go down with the sinking ship.
Now, Haley also told us definitively she will not be joining a third-party ticket. She also believes there will be a female president. She said it's either her or, if Trump wins the nomination, she says Vice President Kamala Harris could win. Now, back here at UVU, again, we do expect Nikki Haley to take the stage right around 12:30, speak for, we don't know how long. We are told this auditorium seats about 500 people, and we're told it's at capacity, and there's an overflow in the next room. Reporting live in Utah County, I'm Lindsay Ertz. Back to you.
Yeah, a lot of people here want to hear what she has to say and be there to greet her. So.
And with Boyd on Sunday edition, you know we'll hear a lot more of that as well. Lindsay, thank you. The latest on a story now that we've been tracking right here on
Arrest.
Well, how far can you go to protect your own private property? That's the question a lot of people have been asking and talking about since this very tense moment was caught on camera between a snowboarder and a Brighton property owner. The attorney we spoke with called cases like this tough to call.
The law tries to reach a balance between protecting somebody's ownership rights, gun ownership rights, and protecting other people's right to feel safe. I think it's going to come down to whether or not that person was actually using a gun to threaten somebody else's life.
Unified Police still investigating what happened there. For the full report and the full video, go to KSL-TV.com. Still ahead, we're sitting down with Best Friends Animal Society.
KSL News at 4 starts now.
Good afternoon. With less than a week from Super Tuesday, presidential hopeful Nikki Haley making a stop right here in Utah today.
Now, this comes less than 24 hours after she lost to former President Donald Trump in Michigan's Republican presidential primary, marking her 6th straight loss to him.
Utah's presidential primary will be on March 5th. That's along with 15 other states. News specialist Lindsay Ertz was at the rally in Orem today, and she joins us live from Utah Valley University on what things looked like. Lindsay?
Yeah, Mike and Ashley, well, there were hundreds of supporters there. In fact, not only in the one auditorium room, but they had to open an overflow room as well for the many supporters that showed up for Nikki Haley. We actually did run into a few Trump supporters who were there as well, who maybe just were there to get a sense of what this other candidate in the Republican presidential race could look like for them. Now, these hundreds of supporters were happy to hear her message, and Haley's main message to them was really about the choice choice the Republican Party has to make, the choice of Donald Trump and his brand versus Nikki Haley and her brand. Now, earlier in the day, Haley met with us at KSL, and she talked about her path to the nomination. Many pundits, again, saying she doesn't have a chance to win with some of her early losses suffered in Iowa and all the way to her home state of South Carolina. But Haley's actually trying to tout those successes in those states, even as recently as in Michigan yesterday, saying that her 30% support is good considering she only campaigned there for 2 days. Plus, she says Donald Trump cannot win the general election without that 30 to 40% that she's picking up right now. Now, again, next Tuesday is Super Tuesday, a key day for her. Well, she has a chance to swing momentum in this race, and Haley would not answer what happens after Super Tuesday for her. She says she's only thinking about the state she's in today, but she says staying in the race is about the future of the Republican Party.
This is about which way do we want the Republican Party to go. I will tell you, if you look at the electability, if you look at the fiscal cliff, if you look at the decisions that are political about one man, if you look at what's happening to our national security, and you see that direction, that's a ship with a hole in it. We can either see the hole for what it is and take the life raft, or we'll go down with the sinking ship.
It's also been an honor, especially.
And now Haley told us definitively that she will not be joining a third-party ticket. That's something we learned today. She also believes that there will be a female president, and she has said this before, either her or if Trump wins the nomination, she believes the female president will be Vice President Kamala Harris. Now, again, back at UVU today, hundreds joining her, rallying in support. We just want to make mention that, of course, the Republican caucus next Tuesday, we will have a link at KSL-TV.com about where you can find your caucus location if you're a registered Republican in Utah. Reporting live in Utah County, I'm Lindsay Ertz. Back to you.
All right, Lindsay, thank you.
You know, we don't anoint kings in America. We have elections. And every election in every state is going to be the power of the voice of that state.
Nikki Haley making a stop at the KSL studios this morning before today's event. You're listening to her interview with Lori Pritchard after a conversation with Boyd Matheson about her campaign. Boyd's going to join us live at 4:30 with a closer look at their conversation. And of course, stay with KSL as a
Republican presidential hopeful Nikki Haley delivering a message to thousands inside of Utah Valley University. Her message for Utah's Republicans straight ahead.
And hundreds of nuisance turkeys in Huntsville. I'll tell you why it's a problem and why it's hard for trappers to keep up.
Will be 84 years old.
Nikki Haley in Utah today making a case on why Utah Republicans should pick her over Donald Trump for the GOP nominee for president.
Now, this comes after a loss in Michigan yesterday and tough questions over whether she'll stay in the race after Super Tuesday. News specialist Lindsay Ertz was with Haley today. And Lindsay, what was her main message there at the rally in Utah County?
Yeah, well, Ashley, she really drove home this choice that Republicans have to make, not only Republicans here in Utah, but across the country in terms of her brand versus Donald Trump's brand. And that was the message she was driving home, is which direction do you want the Republican Party to go? And hundreds of people showed up at Utah Valley University to hear that message. Now, Haley argues that Donald Trump is taking over the Republican Party and making it about him. She says Trump is responsible for a large chunk of the nation's debt, that he is taking the side of dictators like Russian President Vladimir Putin, and that he torpedoed the bipartisan deal on the border. She also argues that he's taking over the national Republican Party through a proposed vote on whether the party can use its funds for Trump's legal fees. Now, to her supporters in Orem, she promised to get the party back to being fiscally conservative by clawing back COVID money and vetoing any new spending bills. She also said she plans to take as many federal programs as she can and send them back to the states to reduce the size of the government. Now, as for whether she'll stay in the race after Super Tuesday, Haley dodging specifics, other than to say she's focused on today and the states leading up to Tuesday.
So I don't want to talk about how long y'all think I'm going to stay in. This is about
voters want to know that.
No, but you know what I want people to know is I want the conversation to be, where are we going in the country?
Now, Haley did reveal to KSL earlier in the day that she's a definite no when it comes to a third-party ticket. She said she's a Republican and a conservative. She also said she believes there will be a female president. It'll either be her, or if Trump wins the nomination, Haley believes it will be Vice President Kamala Harris. Now, Haley again urging Utahns to show up to caucus, which is happening Tuesday here in Utah. We'll have a link at our website at KSL-TV.com where you can find your local caucus night. If you are a registered Republican, you'll need to go there in order to cast your vote for president. Reporting live in Utah County for Live at 5, I'm Lindsay Ertz. Back to you.
All right, Lindsay, thank you. 3 weeks after calling it quits race.
Well, Utah lawmakers have passed an amended bill that sets up a Fair Park area investment district and opens the door for a Major League Baseball stadium. The Senate and the House passed the measure with large majorities. Its sponsor removed an increase to the transient room tax, you'll remember, to fund the stadium. That portion of the bill is only triggered if Utah lands a team by 2032. Instead, sales tax collected within the Fair Park district would help pay up to $900 million the state could offer an MLB owner for a stadium. The bill also guarantees that Utah will be included in the future team's name. It now goes to the governor's desk for either a signature or veto.
Hundreds of wild turkeys are causing some problems for the town of Huntsville. Some homeowners say that their yards are being overrun and the birds are leaving behind a big old mess. News specialist Mike Anderson explains why city leaders say that they are having a tough time just keeping up. Mike?
Yeah, Mike, it's a pretty controversial issue here, even to the point where there's a lawsuit between a couple of neighbors over feeding the birds. But, I'm told they tend to descend here on the town park at evening and the morning, and I've seen that start to happen. There's some back there, but they're keeping their distance. But they're all over the place. And the town mayor, Richard Sorensen, tells me this started becoming a real big issue a few years ago. Initially, people thought it was kind of cute, but soon the numbers became overwhelming to where you have them taking over yards, pecking through lawns, and leaving their poop. The Division of Wildlife Resources was helping them trap the birds, taking out well over 100 last year, but that seems to make little difference to some of the homeowners here as the birds multiply quickly.
The kids were having a hard time to skate on the ice rink because of the turkey poop everywhere. People walking, the delivery UPS guys. I mean, there's turkeys everywhere.
The city now has its own trained trapper. We'll hear from him and why he's the only one currently with this training who doesn't work for the DWR, coming up at 6:30. But this is an issue that can take years to clear up, as we've seen several years ago in Cache Valley, as it took a while to get rid of some of the issues out there and get the numbers down. Mike Anderson, Live at 5.
Yeah, pretty frustrating there. Mike, thank you. When it comes to raising kids,
Hundreds of turkeys are causing problems for some homeowners in Huntsville.
Yeah, they say the birds come in large numbers, pecking through their yards and leaving behind a big old mess. This specialist Mike Anderson shows us why trappers are having a tough time just keeping up.
If you don't live here, it can seem more of a spectacle of nature. Not so much if you've got dozens of these turkeys in your yard.
Well, I am kind of tired of them.
Carol Stoker even had one of these traps in her driveway for a while because of how popular her house has become.
You have to be aware of where you step and walk because there's turkey poop everywhere.
The turkeys are the reason why Mac DeVries has a new job.
They just keep coming in, and each year there's more and more and more.
He's a retired school janitor, but now he works part-time with these guys.
I never thought in a million years that I'd be a trapper about anything. Yeah, that's kind of really unusual, especially a turkey trapper.
He got the unique training because the DWR is spread thin. Their employees trapped more than 100 of them last winter, and they still handle relocating them.
DeVries says he's caught 66 of the birds so far since the fall, but it doesn't seem to put even a dent in the problem out here.
That's because they disperse and multiply each spring.
They come in the early fall, and the hens, come with a whole stream of little chicks.
Granted, it's not a problem for everyone.
I feel like that's part of what makes Huntsville charming, is when the deer come around and the turkeys come around. And I saw a fox in my yard the other day.
Gundy McLaren says she's willing to put up with the poop. This is her driveway, by the way, and she feels like the numbers have come down, but they're still considered a nuisance by town government and wildlife management standards, which means DeVries We'll keep chipping away, but it's getting tough because, believe it or not,
The turkeys get wise to all that stuff.
they're learning to stay away from the traps. In Huntsville, Mike Anderson, KSL-5 News.
Those smart turkeys. Thanks, Mike. The Paris prosecutors are sounding the alarm.
This is a chance where Utah can show the country the direction that we want to go.
Nikki Haley taking her message to Utahns as Super Tuesday looms large. We're tracking the state of the race and new prison.
All right, thanks, Kevin. Less than a week to Super Tuesday, and today, former President Donald Trump's only opponent on the Republican ticket spent the day here in Utah. News specialist Debbie Worthen joins us live now. Debbie, Nikki Haley has faced some tough losses. What was her message to Utahns today?
Well, it was a few things. First, she is in it for the long haul. She's not giving up. And finally, she says that Donald Trump does not have enough support to ultimately win against President Joe Biden.
Music playing and signs waving at Utah Valley University today, with all eyes on Republican candidate Nikki Haley.
At some point, if Republicans really want to get this back on track, we've got to acknowledge that maybe it's him. Maybe Donald Trump is the reason we keep losing.
Speaking to a packed house, Haley didn't hold back when she talked about Donald Trump and Joe Biden.
70% of Americans don't want Joe Biden or Donald Trump in this presidential election.
Truman Van Cott and his grandma Ann Maury were in the crowd.
I would have liked to see her be a little more civil when it came to the issue of Trump.
I thought she was wonderful and had common sense answers, and she didn't have to be rude and ugly.
They disagree on who should represent the Republican Party in the general election, and Haley knows it's still a fight to get her name on the ballot.
This is a chance where Utah can show the country the direction that we want to go.
And she says that means not voting for either of the leading candidates, who she says are both too old to lead the country.
We will have a female president of the United States. It's either going to be me or Kamala Harris.
Now, Nikki Haley said that the caucus next Tuesday is the way to make your voice heard. She said, don't complain about the general election if you don't get involved in the caucus on Super Tuesday. Back to you.
We always appreciate it when candidates stop in Utah. Debbie, thanks. New tonight, Draper City is looking...